Welcome to Family Basics 101. I'm Dr. Bruce McClure, and as we begin the fifth of a five-part series entitled Things You Should Not Do, today we will talk about not being lonely. According to Webster's dictionary, the term lonely means being cut off from others, being in solitude, being desolate, being unfrequented by other human beings, the sense of being dejected. That is according to the Webster's dictionary. And these are things that, even with a simplistic definition, that individuals just should not do. When we talk about being lonely, according to Dr. Ben Martin, a contributor at Psychological Central, it is not unusual to be alone, yet not be lonely. Solitude is good, so it's not unusual for a person to be alone, but it is not common for a person to be lonely when they are alone with themselves. When a person feels alone, when they are in solitude with themselves, then it begs a greater concern. What causes a discomfort within an individual for being in solitude with themselves? Many individuals live alone by choice, due to death or other circumstances, but are far from being lonely. The most lonely group of people are not teens, not the elderly, but young adults. The primary reasons for this unsettled sense of camaraderie might be driven by large ranges of moods. It might be because young adults are so quickly bored and restless, even to the point of being unhappy for no real tangible reason. It might be that self-esteem dramatically dips if they are not highly sought after by others, especially those of their peers. Or it might be that when young adults are what they call lonely, it is not unusual to resort to activities that may exclude direct social people interaction. So in essence, the loneliness, the solitude, is not necessarily by choice, but because there is not a real high comfort level of socializing with peers, then loneliness becomes almost a forced option, and then being in solitude means I am by myself, but I'm not accustomed to being by myself. But I'm not accustomed to being around my peers. And therefore, I am feeling the sense of loneliness. Research by Drs. Linda Waite and Drs. Linda Flowers at the University of Chicago School of Sociology found some startling results about aging and being lonely. Elderly people are 5 times more likely to have better security with their stage of life if they have good friendship connections. You have senior citizens outings, senior citizens buildings, senior citizens get-togethers. Senior citizens have all types of outlets. And the irony is, when they began these camaraderies, they don't know each other. They move into retirement centers and they get to know one another, strangers, but they put forth the energy necessary to bond, because now they are in an environment that really says you can either have isolated time to yourself or you can have relationship time with other people. Elderly people who avoid isolation are 3 times more likely to enjoy better health than those of similar age who are more isolated. So the lonely component of it becomes a choice. Being alone is a choice. People can be around 1,000 people and still be lonely. People can be around 5 people and still experience loneliness. In your textbook, the Bible, Proverbs chapter 18 and verse number 24. A man that hath friends must first show himself friendly. And there is a friend that sticks closer than a brother. Now that's according to the old King James reading. And how often have we told people, if you expect to have friends, then you must first show yourself friendly. But let's look at the real translation of the text. A man of many friends destroys himself. There's a big difference. Sometimes the false conclusion is we need a lot of friends. We need multitudes of friends. We need masses of friends. But the Bible says, in its proper translation, a man of many friends destroys himself. Have you ever wondered why? Every person has a different expectation of friendship. Every person has a different expectation of what they're to get out of that friend. And that friend may exhaust himself or herself in an attempt to become all things to all people according to different people's definition of friends. So the proverb writer very wisely in its proper setting says, a man of many friends will self-destruct himself, because there's frustration in trying to knit. There's frustration in trying to assimilate. There's frustration in trying to reach into and allow people to reach into every life and allow everybody to reach into your own personal life. But there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Real relationships that are void of loneliness really starts with a person's peace with their Lord and themselves. And except that peace, that inner peace, is first sustained, nurtured, and appreciated, then all of the earthly friendships will basically end in ultimate frustration. Let first the individual be okay with being alone with self, and be okay with being alone with God. And once okay with self and God becomes the norm, then loneliness becomes non-existent. I'll see you back in class again next time. Don't be late, and don't skip class.